What is going on, everyone? Welcome to another Bucks on Deck podcast episode. I'm Anthony Murphy. With me, as always, Nola Jeffy. Nola, what's going on, man?
Just another day in paradise.
Another day in paradise. Weather treating you well down that way?
It done got cold. It goes from like a foot of snow to 80s. Now we're back down into the 40s, which I was looking at this morning, and I think they said temperature was like 48, but real feel was like 32.
Yeah, we got about 8 to 10 inches of snow last week, and then it immediately thawed the next day because it got up to 75 degrees, and now it's back down into the 30s, and we're supposed to get more snow Wednesday, I think it is. So it never ends.
Well, at least you got that big old tractor to clear the way now.
Yeah. My father-in-law is the embodiment of you can't take your money with you when you die. So our driveway was getting pretty jacked up because of the snow and the rain and stuff like that. So he went out and bought a $20,000 tractor, and he came in and he was so excited. He's showing pictures and he's just a happy little camper right now.
Hell yeah.
Yeah, baseball is back. Baseball is officially back. Monday, when we're recording, was the first full team workout. So finally getting a look at some things. So I figure what best way to do it is we make some. I know there isn't much to go on right now, but we're going to make some early camp observations, I guess. Maybe just stuff that we've read that seems intriguing. Short videos and stuff like that. Anything stand out to you so far early on in the incredibly minimal sample size?
Nothing that I could say is like eye popping at this moment, just because I guess become kind of jaded over the years of especially with spring trainings and just look at this, look at that. Oh, this guy's hitting these numbers. Look at this bullpen session, this batting cage session, and I mean, it's fun and all because in part just because hey, baseball's back, which is there's my observation. Baseball's back, ta-da! But I will say that article was it Noah wrote with Ashcraft is very, I'd say, promising. I know I was mentioning Connor had said something in the MVP chat for NS9 and about the nerve issue, and I was like, honestly, from like personal experience of dealing with a nerve issue, like finding the root cause of it and being able to alleviate that pain opens up so many doors.
Yeah.
And just like, because like you have relief, so you feel better. If you learn how to properly maintain it, you can push yourself a little more. You can explore a little more, which it sounds like, he added the 2-seamer, kind of bore out of it. So I think it could be a very positive development for him that, he's healthy and came onto being able to resolve this this nerve issue that popped up, which should be interesting.
Yeah, it's good. And a healthy, if they can get Ashcraft to stay healthy over the course of an entire season, like you're talking, like I feel like if he's healthy, obviously Bubba, overtakes him probably at some point eventually, but a healthy Ashcraft, he makes a push to maybe where like to the point to where like you can probably feel safe moving someone like Bailey Falto or like Johan Oviedo or stuff like that. Once Oviedo shows that he's, once he's built some of the value back in from being out with Tommy John, Ashcraft's definitely a guy who has some very interesting upside with like the slider and curveball. And we'll get more into like the 2-seam talk here in a little bit. But real quick before we jump over to that, I think for me, the thing that's been really refreshing to see is Endy Rodriguez's work, like behind the plate kind of thing. The arm's looking good. Not even concerned about the bat really, solely because like you put it a little bit. Like I think anytime we see someone down in camp hit a home run, people are going to start freaking out and stuff like that. So I try to look past that. And the biggest thing for me with Endy is like how the arm was going to look. And by all reports and by the little bit of video we've seen, it sounds like the arm is looking good. So that creates all sorts of possibilities for the Pirates as far as what they could do with their lineup and stuff like that. If he's able to handle behind the plate again, Joey Bart obviously has earned himself the starting job, but I do kind of feel like defensively, Endy is probably the best defensive catcher on the 40-man roster right now. The best defensive catcher that you probably want on your major league team. I don't know if Jason DeLay at this point is a guy that you kind of, he's probably just like AAA depth at this point. So, yeah, it was just really good to see Endy so far. And it sounds like the arm's doing well.
Yeah, and then even as you were talking about that, it's be an interesting development with if he's ready and capable. I mean, making him the backup catcher, which would probably, I mean, granted, they probably would want him to get everyday at bats at this juncture, just coming back from injury. But, you know, if they were to take him north to be like the backup catcher or even just split time 50-50 with Bart, then you're talking potentially maybe Henry Davis starts to make a move to first base, especially since there's an opening now.
I feel like that's probably where you're heading at some point. If Endy's coming back and looks like he could handle playing catcher. I mean, the outfit didn't really work. And now you have Brian Reynolds is in right field. So it's not like right field is a position that's available for him to try again. I think you're kind of getting, and then like even designated hitter, you already have a guy who's kind of claimed that spot there. So if Endy comes back kind of and looks good and he claims that spot, yeah, I think you're going to have to toss a first base glove to Henry Davis and be like, hey, man, you're going to have to figure this out pretty quick. So.
Yeah, which, I mean, although I don't think he measured out very well defensively, but I think Spencer Horwitz was a second baseman coming up through the minors.
He played some in the majors too, I believe, because like I'm pretty sure I saw some grades on him as a second baseman. They weren't great. So
yeah,
positional flexibility, but not good positional flexibility.
Yeah, it seems to be the revolving theme of the roster, but you know,
it is what it is. It is what it is. But speaking of you brought up the two-seamer with Ashcraft. That seemed, and you talk about recurring themes. We kind of have had a recurring theme the last couple of days in that it seems quite a few pitchers are starting to pick up the two-seamer. Sounds like Ashcraft's going to throw one. Paul Skenes is going to mess around with one, and Jared Jones as well. That led to me making a joke that I guess you either didn't find it funny or didn't see the joke in it.
Yeah.
But seeing so many guys decide to pick up the two-seam, what are your thoughts on that?
I think it'd be an interesting development, in part because it is something I think we kind of were noticing last spring, that they seem to be having a handful of pitchers. We always talk about like the vertical approach angle on a four-seam fastball. But they seem to be having a handful of guys that were, throwing like flat two-seam fastballs, which is a little bit of a different look at the top of the zone. Which, I mean, because it's a pitch you could throw at the top of the zone versus obviously, the sinker, you're going to want to bury that in most cases. Mm-hmm. And I think, was it 2 postseasons ago? With Houston, with Framber Valdez, I want to say. Who was it against? The Rangers, yeah, I believe, yeah. And that was one of the big things they talked about is they were actually kind of adjusting on the fly to his fastball because he had one of those like extremely flat approach angle type fastballs, and they were kind of adjusting on the fly to it, and they were crushing them. So I believe it was Eno Saris that wrote an article that he could potentially see like high flatter two seamers kind of becoming a thing just because of the the action versus a four seam.
Mm-hmm.
So maybe it's in a way being ahead of the curve in a sense. Which, yeah, I mean, kind of gonna have to see the pitches, see the shape, see what kind of metrics they're putting out. That are they throwing a flatter variety of a two seam fastball, or is it just like another show me fastball to play off the other pitches? Because I think again, going back to Ashcraft, I think that was one of the things he talked about is he didn't want it messing too much with the tunneling and everything of like his other pitches too much.
Yeah, I think at least when it comes to Ashcraft, the thing that I like about it is like he already throws. So like the Ashcraft situation kind of reminds me of when I talked to Carlson Reed, and he mentioned how he got into the Pirate system, and they kind of looked at the fastball, and it was more of a dead zone. So they decided to split in two. They decided to have him throw a four seam and the two seam sinker, and that gave it two different looks. He attacks a little bit more with the four seam up in the zone, attacks with the two seam sinker at the bottom of the zone. Different looks, different tunneling, that kind of stuff. I like that. If this is going to be like the same situation, like obviously, like you said, want to see what the shape looks like, what the data looks like. Ashcraft is a little more over the top, so that's going to create naturally more of like a steeper like approach angle when you come like over the top like that. So I feel like if he takes advantage of that, that could be something, because a lot of his fastball, he attacks at the top of the zone to work the curveball and the slider off of it. If he can, if he's using this to use instead of like a changeup, which he tried to change up a little bit in Indianapolis last year, and it didn't really look great. So if he's using like a two seam / sinker at the bottom of the zone to create like a different look than the fastball, which the fastball isn't overly impressive, like shape wise, like he's over the top, throwing a little more over the top. So it's a little below average with the induced break from his like release height. And then like, obviously it's going to be like a steeper fastball as well. So it's not like shape wise the most appealing of fastballs. So if he can add this and throw it at the bottom of the zone, I think it'll help him, especially the fact that he doesn't use the changeup as much. So
yeah, and I mean, and he's someone that with his fastball was kind of getting by just off of velocity and commanding it well for the most part. Then as he was moving up, the shape of his fastball was kind of showing itself to be a little less ideal. But he was still successful in large part due to his command and, essentially having 3 above average pitches that he commanded all of them very well. So adding another pitch to that, and who knows, depending on how it plays, maybe it becomes his primary fastball. You never know. But it depending on how things go. 2 fastballs to go with the fastball or to go with the slider and curve, which again is I just said, are both above average pitches that he commands very well. So anything additional to his repertoire could just, push him further.
Yeah. I do. So like most of this, like you made a great point, like especially like Jared Jones too. Like I'm interested to see what kind of two-seamer it's going to be, because like you with like Ashcraft, you could see it because like the four-seamer, maybe the shape isn't ideal, so you get another look. Jared Jones has one of, like, when it comes to pitch shape and like velocity and stuff like that, it's a really good fastball. So you wouldn't necessarily think you would need something to take focus off of it, but I guess anytime you have to account for something different in the batter's box, I guess that's just an added bonus for a pitcher at that point. So, and based
it
off the
would be
fact too that the curve and the change still, maybe if the curve and the change still aren't coming along like you want, maybe it would be easier just to add in that second fastball there for him.
Well, it'll be kind of curious with him, just in the sense that his four seam already showed kind of like two seam properties, which going back to like when he was in Indianapolis, that whole debacle we had where Statcast was
calling them
words are
sinkers.
escaping me right now. Yeah, it was categorizing them as sinkers or sinkers. And we're like, he doesn't throw his sinker.
Yeah.
Which caused a whole debacle. But it has those kind of properties. But so maybe it was just they told him to maybe lean into it a little more, maybe, or something that has, I don't know. Time will tell.
Yeah, we'll see. And too, like if he's adding it or if he's going to play around with it, like he could play around with it during spring and stuff like that. It doesn't necessarily mean he's going to take it into the season. So if he gets into spring and he goes in throwing it, and maybe it just ends up identical to the four seam pretty much, then like maybe he just drops it and then like just kind of move on and just kind of work with what he currently has. So, but of all the pitches that he could be adding, I think like the two seamer was probably the one that like surprised me that would be his choice. I think just based off his like what he's throwing right now.
Yeah. Oh,
I'd have been fine with them just kind of saying,
he probably.
No,
I was I mean, he's not going to be Skenes where he has 10 pitches he can throw. So maybe it was just a matter of they're like, look, you're going to throw 3 pitches. We want you to focus on the 3 pitches. Maybe, tweak your fastball just to have like just a back pocket, different look type of fastball every now and then to pump up there. But he was mostly a 2-pitch pitcher. And at this juncture, I mean, 3-pitch pitcher at most, potentially. We'll see.
Yeah.
So,
which I mean, 3 pitches, that's usually what you want out of your starter. And so, I mean, if it's another fastball, I mean, his first fastball is already really good. So maybe he just has 2 really good fastballs. He's
already got 2 fantastic pitches. So
yeah. And with Skenes, and then we can talk about Skenes here real quick, and then we could segue into our last thing we're doing. Skenes is adding a 2-seamer and a cutter, which I like the idea of just anything extra that kind of looks like the fastball. And like I wrote about Skenes' fastball and adding the other pitches and how that would help him and stuff like that Monday. And I knew writing it, I was kind of wondering if like people were going to start the whole, eye roll about pitch shape and stuff like that with them. And I dropped it in there. It's like all said and done, if he's locating 100, 101, 102 at the top of the zone, then like no one's going to hit him anyways. So that really doesn't matter. But for what it's worth, when you broke it down by splits, his 4-seamer, right-handed hitters had a 283 batting average against his 4-seamer, which is the highest. It's one of the higher marks, just behind his slider against righties. So, of all his pitches, his fastball was hit. His fastball against righties were hit the second hardest out of all his pitches. So, if he can do something that can help keep hitters off of that, I'm all for it. And adding a cutter and a 2-seamer seemed like the perfect thing to do to keep hitters off of that pitch.
Yeah, I mean, the more pitches he has that he throws well, commands well, and everything, just it's almost the elite version of Mitch Keller's 6 pitches, where it's like you have no idea what's coming, except this guy can throw 102.
Yeah, little different for going from I have no clue what's coming from Mitch Keller coming at 93, 94. Well, this could come at 103, so I really need to gear up.
Yeah.
So
you have 0.001 second to pick up spin and everything, and decide if you want to swing or not.
Yep. So that'll be fun to see. I like spring. I've gotten to the point too, to where like I really don't care about results. So like if he were to come in here and throw nothing but like the cutter and two seam, and he got hit around a bunch, cool. I'm all for it. I'm glad to see that he's putting in the effort to test it out, kind of thing.
Yeah.
So we know that like if it comes down to it, and Skenes gets in a crunch in a real game, he's going to go down to like fastball slinker, and like that's what he's going to throw. So like he could go from 8 pitches to 2 pitches very quickly, depending on the situation. I feel like so.
Shohei Ohtani's going to step up to the plate, and he's just going to be like, hit this, 102.
Yeah. But speaking of fastballs, speaking specifically about Paul Skenes' fastball, I got a very interesting question asked to me on Twitter that I'm sure the fact that we're going to do a segment on this is going to cause a little bit of a stir. But someone posted, or was it Platinum Key on Twitter? He posted a clip of Bubba Chandler's fastball, and I shared it out, which I have. If you know, go check out the YouTube channel. I have some clips too of Bubba Chandler throwing his fastball. I shared it and I said his fastball is just different. I don't know if that's word, which it is. It's very hard to hit. There's a lot of movement. The pitch shape is beautiful. Gets plenty of velocity. All that kind of stuff. I was asked a question: whose fastball do you prefer, Bubba Chandler's or Paul Skenes? Which one person answered immediately how I figured people would answer, and they brought up the velocity. Nola.
Vroom,
you have
vroom.
to pick a fastball. Fastball go vroom. Nola, you have to pick a fastball. Which one are you picking?
I mean, gun to my head, or are we going to go into more detailed discussion?
I mean, this was as soon as I got that question, I screenshotted and sent to you and said topic for Monday, question mark, and you're like, yep. So this is what this well,
the funny thing is people could probably go back a year from now, and I feel like we actually discussed this exact topic.
Probably.
And that's where just a pure like fastball properties, it's Bubba. I'd say. Just based off the shape of it, the approach angle, everything, like I would say Bubba's. But that's where, again, something that we have discussed in previously, a year ago, times after that, when Skenes was in AA, AAA, all that. It's just that Skenes is also different in a sense that he hits 102. He puts it generally wherever he wants to. But at the same time, yes, fastball go vroom, vroom.
Mm-hmm.
But, a fastball, the shape of his fastball isn't ideal per se. But he can put it where he wants at 102, 101, which kind of negates shape.
Yeah.
Now, but I mean, because what Skenes probably has, I'd say on a generic scale, baseball scale, it'd be Skenes 70 fastball, Bubba 70 fastball, but I do believe that if all things pan out for Bubba, that he himself could be one of the best pitchers in baseball. And primarily because of that fastball. He'll probably touch triple digits at some point. Which has he touched triple digits?
He didn't officially, according to Baseball America, he did not last year because
I say,
they have different data. There was that game in Bowie where apparently the Bowie broadcast gun at the stadium said like 100, 101, like once or twice. But like officially, according and Baseball America has like they have all the TrackMan data available to them, and they did not list him as one of the guys who topped 100.
Yeah. So, I mean, because Bubba has secondary pitches that are elite in their own, and if Bubba's command is on point, he with his fastball, he's gonna be nasty.
Yeah. So I love that you brought up like the 70 grade for both of them. They are both 70 grade fastballs for different reasons.
Yeah.
Chandler gets a 70 grade for his fastball because it has when you talk about like pitch shape and pitch analytics, that is the dream fastball for a pitcher to have. That is the one that when you're cooking it up in a lab at like Driveline or wherever, like whatever bullpen session you're doing, this is the one that you want it to look like when the radar, when the stats and all that show up on it. You want it to look like that. Paul Skenes, fastball goes room, and he puts it where he wants to put it. If he wants it at the top of the zone on the outer half, he's going to put it 102 on the top part of the zone on the outer half on the paint. And while the shape isn't ideal, when you put the ball right there, there are so few hitters that are going to hit that who cares what it looks like. I will say too that if you give Bubba Chandler Paul Skenes' fastball, and technically speaking, what is it? I pulled up TJ stats. Paul Skenes averaged 98 on his fastball. Bubba Chandler averaged like 96 something. So the difference on average isn't that like 2 miles an hour make a big difference in baseball. But realistically, like Bubba Chandler is like one growth spurt, and we saw like Jared Jones take that like step up when it comes to his velocity around this same time. So like if Bubba takes that extra step velocity wise, like we're talking about an 80 grade fastball at that point.
Which and that's what I was even thinking too. Is I think you've even mentioned before too that I'd say that at this point in his development, Bubba is ahead of where Jared Jones was.
Absolutely, 100%
as a complete pitcher, and I was looking up Jared Jones versus Skenes too as well, to kind of go on that point as well. In that, like if you look at FanGraphs, it has Skenes' fastball is a 105 and Jared Jones is a 102. On TJ stats, Skenes is a 104 stuff plus, where Jared Jones is a 108 stuff plus. But a lot of that is algorithmically, depending on what they weigh more. I think TJ Stats loves extension a little bit more. Jared Jones has like a 7-foot extension, so he gets a pop there. But to even take it further, like on FanGraphs, David Bednar and Colin Holderman have a higher stuff plus fastball than Skenes. But that's where, it's kind of helps, I guess, explain the point in the sense that Holderman and Bednar, which they themselves have different fastballs shapes, but they're like 2-pitch pitchers, and they aren't necessarily relying on command as much, and you see what happens with Bednar like last year, because Bednar's stuff plus was still phenomenal last year. It's just his command disappeared. And you saw what happened is he just kept getting hammered because, the fastball's great, but if you're just like leaving it middle, it's going to get hammered. But, which, and being like a 2-pitch pitcher, I'm saying a lot. Because the thing is too that with a pitch with better of a approach angle and a flatter four-seam fastball, the other thing you do generally get is that they statistically show more swings and misses in zone. So you can miss your spot more often with a flatter fastball. So like a Bubba Chandler fastball, maybe his command isn't pinpoint on a day, but he's still going to generate swings and misses just based off the properties of the fastball on its own. Where, he might miss up in the zone at 99, but they're still going to swing under it or top it.
Yeah. And that's where pitch shape comes in hand. It's like when the command isn't on. And that was one thing that like you talked about a lot too with like Paul Skenes. It's like, yeah, he has the velocity, but like on days where the command isn't there, that's where the pitch shape, that's where hitters are more likely to come in contact and to hit the ball and stuff like that. I think another thing you brought up too is like, so like, I mentioned like the difference in the velocity there too. Bubba Chandler gets nearly 7 feet of extension as well, whereas I think Paul Skenes is in like the low 2s. So that velocity difference right there is almost made up a bit because Chandler's more over top on the hitters, whereas Skenes is coming from a little bit further back with the lesser extension. So he kind of makes up for the less velocity there as well, which also, like you said, is why too that someone like Jones would grade higher too on certain analytical models.
Yeah, and which the other thing too is that like a Jared Jones or Bubba Chandler could also stand to lose a couple miles per hour as the game went on. Mm-hmm. Like if they drop like 2 miles an hour by the time they get to the 6th inning or so, they could stand to lose a little bit of that velocity. I mean, the overall pitch shape is going to diminish itself, but generally they'll still have more ideal pitch shape than when Skenes is sitting like 98, all of a sudden that fastball is looking a little more juicy, and I mean it does bear out in the stats to where again, statistically speaking, like the expected WOBA, Skenes fastballs, the ex-WOBA is the worst on his fastball. Like it's over 400.
Yeah. So it's like when they do make contact, it's more quality contact that they're getting with it. That's because it's a pitch that technically is easier to barrel up, except when like the velocity drops and stuff like that. When it's thrown at 103, like no shot.
Good luck.
Yeah, good luck. But as it comes down, that's a fastball that's easier to barrel. Bubba Chandler at 98 is going to get hit a lot less than Paul Skenes at 98, pretty much.
Yeah. But
and Bubba Chandler at 103, and we're talking about a 90 grade fastball at that point.
Yeah. We're talking hopefully a Jacob deGrom that stays healthy.
Yeah, pretty much.
Jacob deGrom is a unicorn that just has never been able to stay healthy.
Yeah, that's unfortunate. So.
Yeah, it's very unfortunate that he's never been able to stay healthy. Like everything about him is just so good.
It is. But yeah, that's our Paul Skenes first Bubba Chandler. I thought that was interesting, and I love any opportunity to kind of bring up 1, Bubba Chandler, 2, Bubba Chandler's fastball, and 3, pitch analytics. So asking that kind of comparative question, that was like just the perfect storm for us to bring this up on the show.
Yeah, yeah, and I mean, I guess I guess I'll say the dummy down version is just they're both 70 grade.
Yeah, they're both 70 grade.
One averages 98 with elite shape. One averages 102. Well, not 102, but one can throw 100 plus wherever he wants to.
Yeah. Take your pick. Like I'm okay with getting this. If we're doing a draft, I'm okay with getting the second pick because I know whoever's left over, I'm still going to get a really good fastball. So, and also too, I like the Skenes talk too because I feel like sometimes that people get too heavy into the analytics and stuff like that. And like it's a good reminder to like you have to properly blend like analytics with like the eye test kind of thing. Yeah. So it's not just looking at an Excel spreadsheet and saying, yeah, that guy's fastball is bad, this guy's fastball is good. It's like I'm gonna look at the spreadsheet and then I'm gonna go out there and watch the game. And like, yes, that guy has a bad pitch shape, but as we've said probably 50 times on this just on this show right here, he just threw 102 on the paint I can live with the bad pitch shape on that. So
Well, yeah, and it's at 102. So
yeah.
which bears out in the metrics to where he still gets elite grades on his fastball.
Yeah.
Because
it's
largely because of the vroom vroom.
Yep. So I guess the answer to it is probably you can't lose with whoever you take in this situation.
No.
So
which could lead me down a whole nother rabbit hole, but we'll save that for another day.
Fair enough. And it's going to be fun that they're going to be in the same rotation at some point this year. Him, Skenes, Jared Jones, Mitch Keller, Braxton Ashcraft, or Mike Burrows.
What about Bailey Falter? That's rude.
Bailey Falter is a given, man. Like I saw I think it was Alex.
Caleb Ferguson.
I think Alex shared a thing of him throwing batting practice to IKF, and he was just throwing like these. He threw like an elevated fastball to IKF that got a swing and miss. And my first thought is pitch analytics. It's like I know why he get whiffs on that fastball, even though it's like 90.
What he at a certain point he was hitting like 93, 94 last year, wasn't he?
I think he had a couple starts to where he was really getting it up there, which his extension with like the nice. I like that. So
I just wish I could get this as excited about the rest of the roster as it with the pitching, because it's just like, hey, Oviedo's coming back. I mean,
that dude was
there's still Ashcraft. There's still Burrows. We didn't even mention Thomas Harrington.
That's my boy.
Sean Sullivan.
The GOAT. He had to take a step back last season to let other people step up.
He did. he waited to give them a false sense of hope.
Yeah.
They're like, I'm on the doorstep, and then he's just going to leapfrog them all.
Oh yeah, absolutely. So, yeah, you hit it on. I wish we could get this excited about some of the hitting, but there's just too many what ifs at this point.
Yeah.
So, but yeah, any NOLA knowledge for us?
Nah, nothing today.
Nothing.
I need to think of these things beforehand and write them down.
Mm-hmm. I'll throw this out here just because it's just fun talk. I went into a T-Mobile the other day to get me a new screen protector, and I heard the person talking to a customer, and I think for the first time since I left T-Mobile, I got that itch. I want to walk up to this person and try to sell them something, and I hadn't had that. I hadn't had that in a while. I wanted to walk because I knew the T-Mobile person. I trained him, and now he's the store manager at the store that I used to work at. So that made me feel a little bit good. So I wanted to walk up to him and be like, what's the tablet deals like right now? And then just walk up to a random customer hey, you need to buy this tablet right now, and just kind of do my thing. So that was the first time I got an itch in a while, that kind of itch.
Yeah, you should have done it. Maybe, and then he would have offered you a job, and you've been like, "No, sorry, I got all this dark money. I'm good."
Yeah, he asked me if I missed it, and I said, oh, well, out towards I live, another store offered me a store. District manager offered me my own store. He said, I seen your resume, come run one of my stores. And I told him, I said, the amount of money it would take to get me back into that field is more than you'd be willing to pay for a store manager.
What did you tell him that number? Because maybe he would have been like, okay.
Well, I know what store managers make because I was one. So, but to bring me back into that, but I won't lie, I had that itch that I wanted to sell somebody something the other day when I was in there, and they were busy too. So I just I'll take over one of these things. I got you. So I miss the selling sometimes. I don't miss the
people.
BS. Yeah. So, but yeah, all right. So no knowledge. You got some useless information for me about me wanting to sell stuff. Where can they find you on social media?
At Nola Jeffy, NOLAJEFFY on the Bird app and Blue Sky.
Do you even post anything on Blue Sky?
No, I haven't been on there. I haven't even really been on Twitter much lately.
I go on Blue Sky, and I'm like, this is just so much of a better atmosphere, but I just can't leave the drama. I just can't leave the drama.
Yeah, and there's so much of it lately. So much of it.
I wonder sometimes if other sports teams' media stuff has as much drama as Pittsburgh baseball media does. And I'm not even really talking about myself and the stuff that like I get intertwined in. Like I'm talking about like
what do you get intertwined in?
It's more than just my name that gets thrown out and people get upset. Like, so it goes way past just me. So I wonder if other markets has this kind of stuff.
I think. I mean, I know.
I've said to y'all because the Pirates are so bad that
there's that, but
naturally covered the drama base.
I mean, because I know I've said to y'all before that I'm like, just take a stroll down Marlins Twitter. It can be a hellscape.
Really? I have to do that.
Oh man, just because obviously they went through all those, they traded their entire core for all these, top 100 prospects, and everyone's going to be good. And I mean, that's when the baby cakes were in New Orleans. So, I dabbled in Marlins Twitter a little, baseball Twitter a little bit. And I was just like, don't get your hopes up high, because obviously, coming from a Pittsburgh fan, I've been there. And then it's just like everyone's gonna be good, and
just remember, it can always get worse.
I don't even know how many of those guys are still in like American professional baseball.
Probably not.
Isan Diaz might be in the minor league somewhere. I don't know. Louis Brinson.
I don't know
those guys, man.
All right. Yeah. So we kept it short and then we rambled a little bit. But that's what we do around here. Follow me on Twitter at @double_Murphy88, on Blue Sky, Anthony.Murphy. Subscribe to Bucks on Deck. We recently released our top 25 prospects in the Pirate system for 2025. Full player write-ups, scouting reports, outlook for the upcoming season, all that kind of fun stuff. I'll be in Bradenton in less than a month to cover some spring training games. I'll be at the spring breakout, so that'll be fun. So subscribe to the Substack. Check out some of my minor league stuff on DK Pittsburgh Sports, of course, Baseball America as well. Thanks for tuning in, and have a good one. See you guys next time.